What's up, Camp Broadside? Troy Mosby here. How y'all doing? Hey, I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. We have a great episode ahead of us. We have my good friend, Mr. Christopher Leppert, joining us tonight. If you don't know who Christopher is, he is a two-time national archery champion. He's also the man, the myth, and the legend behind the Mobile Hunter Expo, the Mobile Hunter podcast, as well as the Mobile Hunter Facebook page. So we're excited to get him on here tonight and talk some hunting. But before we dive off into that, if you haven't liked and subscribed to our channel, I'd ask you to do that, please. And if you dig our stories here at Camp Broadside, if you wouldn't mind sharing our channel with your friends, we'd greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, please help me give a big old Camp Broadside welcome to Mr. Christopher Leppert.
Man, I gotta grab my bow. Ah! This is what I live for, this is what I die for, and this is what I eat and breathe. Yeah, looking real close, you couldn't even see a tree standing in my family tree.
I'm telling you, that shit was the craziest thing I ever seen.
Christopher Leppert, what's happening, my man?
Not too much. Just came in from a little business trip, actually. Josh and I were out taking clips of stuff for ads and videos and you name it. So we just walked in the door and now I'm on here with you, get to talk some deer.
Hey, man, I'm sure happy to have you on here, man. Honored to have you on as a guest, you know what I'm saying? But
appreciate it.
Before we get started, you don't mind if I tell a little joke, do you?
No, go ahead.
Do you know what a deer's favorite dance move is?
I don't.
That would be the do-si-do. Yeah, I got to be dumb a little bit. Just set the tone a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
but for those of you that don't know who Christopher Leppert is, he is the man behind the Mobile Hunter Expo and the Mobile Hunter podcast and the Mobile Hunter Facebook page. He's also, I got little notes here. He's a two-time national champion archer and finished second at the IBO World Championship back in 2019. So you got quite the track record there, mister.
Not doing too bad. A win that day would have been a lot better, but you can't have it all, I guess.
Right, I got you.
That's one of those things that keeps me humble every day. I can assure you that.
I'm sure it does, man. I can only imagine. But hey, just even getting there is one heck of an accomplishment, dude.
Yeah, that was a tough year. I battled a lot of equipment failures over and over and over. My bow would come out of time about every 3.5 weeks, which was weird. And I didn't know. I had just started doing my own bow work that year. And so I had no idea what was happening. And I actually got rid of the bow a couple years later and sold it to a buddy, and he immediately picked it apart. And I had bought a brand new bow with a broken bearing in it. And that was tough battle. Had the limbs before, so on the Friday before that shoot, I had the limbs delaminate, so they were basically splitting or whatever. And so we had to put new limbs on the bow. That Tuesday, we tuned it and then started to sight it in and sighted it in the rest of the way Wednesday morning. And as soon as that was finished, we left for Worlds. And then I made a run at it. It was awesome. I think I shot maybe 15 up with, I think I had like 27 Xers or something. I led the tournament in X count and everything. I was out of my mind that shoot for whatever reason. It's very special to me.
Yeah. Hey, and I mean, you were going up with guys that's been using the same bow, had been sighted in, had been tuned, and here you are doing it on a whim, really. You know what I'm saying? That says a lot about your skill set there, mister.
It was a year that I really learned how to push through adversity. I'll say that much. I remember at the second leg of the national championship, I shot 38 down, which is just worse than the guys that are pretty bad. But
hold on 1 second, if you would. If you would explain like what the down means and the up.
Yeah. So essentially, look at it like golf. So if you shoot even, that's par. If you shoot up, that's like shooting under in golf, and shooting down is like shooting over in golf, so it's bad.
Got you.
Scoring system is your X or your bullseye, whatever you want to call it. The best score you can get is an 11, and that's like a birdie. And then your 10s are basically a par. And then your next biggest ring is an 8, and that's like a double bogey. And then after that, it's a 5, which is real bad. And my bow had come out of time really bad, and I didn't know. And that actually, after that shoot, is when I learned how to check if a bow was in time. And I could literally get a yardage perfect, and it didn't matter. I could make the best shot in it, and I could feel it. There wasn't a back wall or anything. It was really weird. And when I got home, it was like, for those that know, you'll understand what I'm saying. The cables were like an inch away from the stops. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I probably have better odds shooting a longbow. I had multiple misses, multiple 5s and everything, and it was tough to even finish out the shoot. And that really knocked me out of the running for a podium finish for the national championship, because you shoot 3 different shoots.
Got you.
For it. And so I wouldn't have won that year. My buddy, the guy that I shot all over the country with, Luke, he was very, very good, and nobody was going to take it from him. But, it would have been cool to finish on the podium that year. And then on top of that, have our team national championship. And then, the run I made at Worlds. But I mean, I learned a lot, and I learned probably more about adversity and how to kind of get through it that year. And it kind of set me up for life in more ways than most could imagine.
Yeah. Well, at least something positive come out of it. You know what I'm saying? For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to Chris in the Saddle Hunter Nation group. I'd made a post in there about 2024 bucks that were put down. And Chris actually commented with this buck right here. Man, that's a hammer of a buck, brother.
Thank you. That was I still can't believe I killed it, to be honest with you. That was another year of adversity.
Beautiful buck. But before we jump off into that, man, would you mind telling us kind of like how the Mobile Hunter Expo come about and how you got started into that and where all that came from?
Yeah. So I started a Facebook group back in 2017. And we started out, it was called The Elite Outdoors. And it kind of blew up a little bit. And I started to learn a lot about social media and how to basically manually drive traffic. And people would want us to do giveaways and whatnot. And we'd grow the group that way. And a local outfitter decided to name their outdoors store the Elite Outdoors Superstore. That kind of pissed me off, if I'm being honest. And I was like, well, I guess we're gonna have to change our name, because I don't want to be associated with that. So we came up with Fueled by the Outdoors. And so we started a YouTube channel and a podcast in 2020. Literally, we started a podcast and the world shut down like 2 weeks later. It was
COVID.
Crazy. Yeah, the COVID shutdown happened. And so it was kind of a tougher time, because a lot of people had really just got into it. You always think you got this idea, I'm the only one, right?
Right.
There's a billion people out there thinking the same thing. So we started those, and we started doing some gear reviews. I had a gentleman, you probably know him, his name's Sean Walters.
Yep.
And he's semi-local to me. And one day he asked if he could come by and talk to me about some climbing steps. And I'm like, sure. And I have no idea what these are. I have no idea that saddle hunting exists or what it is. Nothing. I'm a summit climber till I die. And if you think you're going to talk me out of it, you're crazy. So he comes by, hooks me up with a set of steps, asks me if I'll hunt with them and stuff, and just post about them and whatnot and give honest feedback. So I thought, that's cool. Well, I tried them out, and they were pretty tough, but I didn't have the knowledge that I needed, and so I started hunting with them. I killed a booner that year, and I think he wanted to cry when he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, did you use those steps when you shot that deer?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm sorry, I
No.
wasn't." And I'm like, I'm sorry.
He
I was
was
still
hoping.
very, yeah. And I hate that I didn't, but I didn't know enough, and I didn't feel comfortable with climbing that way yet. Now I just go right up and down a tree, right? So,
Yeah.
um, he started me into the mobile side of things, though, because he ended up, I think it was later down the road, he hooked me up with a saddle that he had made. And that helped me be able to get up the tree a lot easier. Like, a good, you got to have those large uncovered loops that a saddle has to be able to hook your lineman's rope around the tree and go hands free and all that. And all I had was that big HSS tree stand harness.
Yeah.
So I started doing a lot more of that. I started hunting public land a lot more. And I remember I started working with EWO, and I wanted to do some form of event for them, kind of like a meetup or something, because they had done one somewhere. And I thought, man, I got this group with all these people. We could surely put together something and have 50, 100 people, whatever, come out
Yeah.
and check some stuff out or whatnot. And then a gentleman by the name of Will Leonard had reached out to me and wanted me to put on a scoring event for deer. And I thought, well, I ought to combine those two. And the second I had that thought, I thought, well, I should invite everybody I could, and we could just have like an outdoor show or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I thought, it would be neat to have something for the people in my space that I've started to fall in love with a little bit, because I had gotten into using the EWO sticks. I was using a saddle quite often, and I was using a tree stand as well. One of the lighter, well, not lighter compared to now, but one of the
Back
lighter
then.
SOPs for then. And man, I just, all the people that I saw on the buy sell trade pages, where they'd buy something and then 2 weeks later they're selling it because it doesn't fit right or can't get comfortable. So I thought we need this,
Yeah.
but everybody's got an idea. It's not up to you if it's good; it's up to everybody else.
That's right.
And so we had 10 vendors come to our show, our first show. I came up with the idea on June 30th of 2021 and literally ran with it. I think I put it together by myself in about 2.5, 3 weeks. I posted it in some groups for about 10 days, and we had 10 vendors and 200 people show up.
Wow.
And then afterwards, we went to dinner with everybody, and I just said, hey, shoot me straight. Did you like this? Do you want to see us do more? Yada, yada, yada. And they said, absolutely. I think people did good. I think it was like $25 for a table then.
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't have a whole lot to stand on back then.
Right.
So
Right. But it was a starting point for sure.
it was a starting point, a good pilot show,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've had a single show yet where I haven't felt like we failed in some ways, and didn't meet the mark, the expectations we set for ourselves.
Right.
But each time when you look back and look at how far you come, you're like, damn, man, why am I so hard on myself? Like, this is awesome, So
Yeah.
the following year, we had a little more time. Still had a lot of learning to do, but we posted a bunch. We did an ad read with the Southern Outdoorsman. And funny enough, we had almost everybody in the mobile hunting world there at that point, vendor-wise. We had 37 vendors and 400 people come. And what's funny is I really started to see how well the Southern Outdoorsmen move the needle, because the majority of the people at our show were from the South. And
Gotcha.
that was
Yeah.
hilarious. Like there were cars from Florida in southern Ohio, there were cars from Florida, Alabama, Georgia, North and South Carolina, Texas, Arkansas, like all over the freaking South.
Right.
Um, so at that point, I thought I didn't get much support from Ohioans. So we decided to move the show to the South and then do one in the North, in Michigan. So we went down to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we went up to the North in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And that's the year that we got a website, and I think we did a couple of ads, targeted ads, did another podcast ad with the Southern Outdoorsman. And so we did pretty good. We had nearly 60 vendors at each show, and then we had 900 people in the South and 1,000 in the North,
Whew.
which is still, that's 100% growth at both shows, or more. So while you want to see, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 people roll through, I started at this point to learn from talking to vendors that while we weren't doing the numbers that the big shows were, our sales were on par with the big shows as far as people spending money. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? That's, I wonder why.
Yeah.
And so, you roll into last year, and we did 3 shows, and that was a lot. We learned a lot more about targeted ads. We were able to invest in equipment to film things with, because we kind of pioneered the whole filming with a phone, for hunts.
Yeah.
And we were really big on that until we discovered the things you can't do with a cell phone when it comes to running a business. And so it was very eye-opening, what we were able to do. But essentially, we did 3 shows, and I think we had 1,200 people in the South, 1,400 in Michigan, and 1,100 in PA. So we still had, some, in this economy, a really, really good growth. And vendors were right around the same. I think we had low 60s or something like that in PA because we had a giant building. But it was just very interesting because there's so much work that goes into it. And I thought this whole time that I'd have all this time to go hunting and scouting and all that. And it's actually the exact opposite.
Right. I was going to say, I bet so.
Struggling to get into the woods and stuff. Like Josh and I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. Josh was here around 6, and we were on the road until 1:20. I walked in the door, and then, after I get done with your podcast, we've got a podcast to do that's pertaining to the show that has kind of a big announcement to release and everything. And then there's just it's never ending.
Never ending. You're a busy dude, man, for sure.
It's
But
crazy.
you at least you do make time for yourself, but to get in some
Yeah.
hunting, you know what I'm saying? But
You have to.
that growth is incredible. I mean, you're talking
Thank
a
you.
few short years and probably some of the hardest years our economy's seen in a long, long time. You know what I'm saying? If
I
not
agree.
ever, just because of the pandemic and whatever. So to get those people and that growth there, that's amazing. And I met you at the Georgia show last year.
Yeah.
And that was my first Mobile Hunter Expo, and I was totally impressed. You go to a lot
Thank
of
you.
different shows, and there's so much. I mean, and I some of it's needed, I would say, but there's so much just non-hunting related stuff that's there, and it's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And the stuff you want to see is like this big, and the show's this big. So it's
Yeah.
all this other
That's
stuff. So it was nice to see that everything there is basically directed towards people like me and the mobile hunter. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. It's interesting because it's why we haven't grown way more. We've probably, I shit you not, we've probably said no to well over $100,000, and that's probably very small-minded thinking, right? Like it's probably closer to 150 or two. but we just don't feel like it's fair to us and our brand, to our vendors and to our guests, because the same reason that everybody wins when they come to our show, whether they're a guest, vendor, us, whatever, they can easily lose. If I have 75 outfitters and another 75 charters, like, the people in our circle generally don't want to see that. They're travel hunters that want to go, check out gear and stuff that's going to pertain to them because they're going on DIY hunts.
Yeah.
And while it would be lovely, and my wife would probably love me even more if I did accept all that money and had all these different, popcorn booths and insurance salesmen and, all the stuff that we've turned down, I just don't feel like, that makes us every other show.
Yeah.
We're literally no different than anybody else at that point. And I think you start to water yourself down. And in this time that we're living in, where people aren't really, customer service has went to hell. People caring at all has just went to hell. Like, there's not a lot of pride taken. And I'm, for those that have for those that have dealt with me, generally people figure out pretty quick I'm more of an old school guy. I'll shoot you straight, and sometimes it'll hurt your feelings, but you'll know how I feel 100% all day long, and you'll never have to worry about me not telling the truth. Like, I just shoot it how it is, and some people take it the wrong way, and I hate that, but it's just who I am, So we live in a day and age where so many people are so afraid to be aggressive. Yeah, they're sensitive. They're afraid to be aggressive. Men aren't allowed to be men anymore, and all that shit's translating into a bunch of other stuff. And I don't mean to get like social or political or whatever, but it's just, I think at some point you got to have some people stand up and sort of take a stand for those things. So
I agree 100%.
That being said, we've kind of taken a stand when it comes to the shows and really set a precedent. And it's very interesting because we watch everybody that does any kind of show that's even barely relevant, right? And we're seeing things start happening at other shows that we do, and it's kind of cool to see. Sometimes it can be annoying, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But as they say, the what is it, when somebody copies you or whatever, it's
imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Yep.
You got it. And so, at first I'm like, damn, man, like, I'm already tiny. Like, can you just let me be me and you not try to do this too? And then I thought, that's a pretty big show, and they're doing what you're doing now, or at least they're trying to. And so we kind of operate on the mindset that, people might try, but you got to be pretty passionate about what you're doing, no matter what it is. And, we feel like we have a pretty good spot in that category.
Yeah. Kudos to you for staying true to yourself and staying loyal to the brand and keeping it what you intended it for it to be. You know what I'm saying? So
means a lot.
Us people out here that are looking at your shows and looking at you guys that are putting it on and stuff, we appreciate it, very much. So you guys do a hell of a job, man. And can't wait. I can't wait for the shows this year.
It's going to be fun, dude. There's a lot of so you're coming to the Ohio show, and I feel bad because we have more building in Ohio than we do in the South. I really wish we could have done an archery shoot in the South. And as long as the Ohio shoot goes well, I can tell you right now, we'll have a shoot in the South next year. We'll just have to get a different building, but I'm pretty excited. We got a lot of cool new companies that we've added. Literally today, we added new companies that I don't think you really see hit on very much in the hunting space that really, really need to be thrown in there. So
that's cool. That's exciting to hear. You know what I mean? I can't wait. I'm so excited. As you know, it's my first one as setting up as a vendor. So it's I've never done anything like this in my life, so I'm ready to go. I pretty much got my bags packed and loaded. I'm like, let's go, man. I'm ready. Let's get it on.
It's going to be a blast, dude.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you talking about the Mobile Hunter Expo, man. And like I said, if anybody watching that you don't know about it, look it up. It's there's videos on there of what it's like, and you can see the show dates and whatever. And definitely, if you can make it out to the first ones in Georgia, like the 8th of August, I think it
August 8th
is.
through 11th in Dalton,
Yep.
Georgia, and then up in Ohio, in Wilmington, Ohio, it's August 22nd through 24th.
Yeah, definitely. So if you guys can get out there and get up there and check it out, there's a ton of cool stuff and a ton of cool people. You know what I mean? Definitely a great time, worth checking out for sure.
I
But
appreciate that.
yes, sir, man. Well, I'm really excited to hear about this buck. Kind of what happened that day, man. How'd that go down?
So this story actually starts in about the third week of July in 2023. So Josh and I were glassing, and in this particular spot, I had noticed a buck with a kicker off the backside of his brow, and then he had a kicker off of his G2. He's an unmistakable deer. And I ended up missing a big 8 that year, and then followed that up with the big one, which we'll see if we can, for those that are watching on video, I killed that
Yeah,
deer.
that bad boy.
And so he was a 14.172 inch giant, and that was cool. But I really, really, I'm terrible about getting attached to these animals. And once I find one, there's literally been years where I turned down hunting a giant on a piece of private because I have a 132 inch 12 point on public that I know I can go kill him right now. So, and you watch them, you glass them, you get videos of them, you see the sign they lay down, and you're connected, and there's something to be said for that. And sometimes it can be bad as far as, maybe making you look good because everybody likes to see bigger deer, but you really get a connection to these animals when you start getting out there and scouting more and everything. So that's kind of why I get so attached. Well, I had wanted to find that deer last year, and I finally found him, and he was actually on the public during the summer and then went off onto some private. Well, I was able to secure permission to hunt a piece of private that is close to where I felt like he was living. And but it's very difficult because around this area there's not a lot of hunting that's allowed, and they have no reason. They have no reason whatsoever, if they're not bombed or whatever, to really have to get up and move around a lot. Like,
Right.
if I could get permission on the piece of private, then it'd be better than anything ever, right? Because it's the bedding. They have the
Right.
bedding, and that's what screws you as a guy hunting private. So I did have to throw out some bait, and I just kind of ran cams, and then got a little lazy with the bait during the rut because it's the rut, and ended up passing up the opportunity to hunt a deer that I couldn't decide was mature or not. I made a post about him on our page, actually, and people said he was immature. So I said, all right, that one's out. He was a really cool looking deer, and I hope I'm able to show you some video of him soon, because I think I found him the other day.
Oh, wow.
As a 4-year-old. He'll never score good, but again, like, I'll probably have to go all in on that deer because he's so cool. And I've got a billion pictures, videos, and glassing footage, and I've seen his tracks and everything. So, there's no getting out of, and I wouldn't want to, but there's no getting out of like all the different things that get, planned by the wife.
Right.
We have all kinds of different plans, holiday plans, birthday plans. My daughter's birthday is November 1st. We celebrate every year. We travel as a large family group to a different part of the state or country, and it's generally in the fall. And then the whole time I'm just like
Right during
stabbing
hunting
myself in the head
season.
with the spoon, like come on, man.
Yeah.
But
But you got to do what you
they
got to do.
yeah, you do. And so they scheduled um they scheduled a trip for the first week of December, which is our gun season here in Ohio. And I love bow hunting all my big deer with a bow, but I will not turn my nose up at hunting with a gun at all. Here in Ohio, it's actually fairly challenging because they've been pressured for quite some time. And so, of course, I had a couple mature ones daylight while I was gone. They were like right there at the edge, which means they're there somewhere where you could have killed them with a gun.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. And then, rolling through the rest of the season, I mean, we get into late December and I've got nothing going on. And then, muzzleloader season rolls around, which was like the first weekend in January. And we had a cold front come through, bunch of snow. And I just thought, oh my God, yes, like the Lord our God hath set this up for Chrissy. Here we go, baby.
Here we go.
Well, I had I had a couple of good bucks daylighting on another piece of private, and I was going to go in and hunt them. And I put my truck in a ditch.
No.
The roads were literally covered in snow, and there's where that is. There's a lot of terrain, and I almost made it to the top of the hill, and the ass end of the truck just kind of came off the driveway a little bit, and there was no recovering due to how steep the little drainage ditch was.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't even back down, like the ditch was sucking me into the woods and
Right.
the whole nine. So had to have a neighbor rescue me and pull me out a few days later. My buddy came and picked me up, thank God, because I mean I called companies with wreckers and no one could get me out. So I had to go to a buddy who was like an overlander, and he got me out. Used the snatch block and all that. So my muzzleloader season's ruined, and it's really starting to kind of wind down anyway because January for us, we book quite a few vendors and get sponsors and stuff like that that time of year, and we're really starting to just plan everything out and just get things going. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, it's time to stop playing. Now it's serious time.
Yeah.
Well, I had my daughter's 11th birthday party, of course. And this was about a week and a half later or so. Yeah, week and a half later. And as I'm going to pick up a couple of my kids from the birthday party, so I was picking up one of my kids. She went skating with her big sister at her birthday party with all girls. And I took my little guy, Cade. We went and rode go-karts while the girls ice skated. And so as I'm driving to pick up Colleen, I get a notification. And there he is in front of the camera, broad daylight, all kinds of other bucks and does and you name it. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. And what's funny is I probably wouldn't have even went hunting that day. It was during a warm-up. It was balmy out. It was spitting rain. And I thought, if you would have given me all the days for you to daylight, this is not the day that I would have picked.
Right.
Well, there were other factors that I didn't realize, and we'll get into that. So I went during a cold front that next Wednesday, and I am dead sure that I'm going to kill the buck. If he came in that day, he's damn sure coming in today.
Damn sure coming in.
And changed up my access and everything, was just super, super meticulous, like I'm hunting public land. It's opening day. I'm in my element. And I'm just I finally get a kill sit. I know this is going to be the day. I didn't see shit.
Oh, shit.
And I thought, okay, well, I really don't know what to do now. And so, kind of the public land side of me started thinking, okay, he daylit on a crappy day. Do we have any of those? Well, sure enough, another warm-up was headed for the upcoming Saturday. Well, I drove around the rest of that week and had noticed something. There's a waterway where the deer kind of beds up against, and sometimes he'll cross said waterway when everything is good. Well, it wasn't good because there were duck hunters there.
Oh shit.
And it's a pretty big, he's got to kind of fight as it is to get across all that water, but they do it way more than people understand. But not when there's people out there shooting ducks.
Right.
So they kind of cut him off. And so I thought, I wonder if that's why he's even been coming over here at all. And so, it makes sense why in the middle of the week, when everybody's got to go back to work for a couple of days, that he wasn't there.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I go in there Saturday. Oh, did you have a question?
No. I was just, it was all coming together up here.
Okay. So, yeah, the pressure drops. He goes back to doing his thing. And we see that all the time on public. So, I go in there that Saturday. It's like a 8 or 10 degree warm up, just nothing you'd ever select. And sure enough, I hear the duck booms and, the rant, 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 rant from far off. And I thought, God, please let me be right. And through the woods, a little while later, I caught a glimpse of 3 different deer, and I thought I saw racks. And they're probably, 150 yards, and it's getting fairly late. There's only, 40 minutes of daylight left or something like that. And I was hunting close to someone's driveway. It's like an easement. And I noticed the deer use it and walk down it. And I've actually killed deer out of a driveway before where they're not going to walk on this trail or whatever. They're walking down the driveway just like we would do. And so I watch him come out of the woods, come into this field full of natives, and he's browsing the whole way. And then he comes right up in the driveway and walks across me, past me, and then back. And he's probably 43 yards right now. And I'm thinking, man, and I also have to say, I don't know that this is him yet. I think it's that 3-year-old that I was just telling you about that I decided not to hunt because I couldn't really quite make him out with all the thick honeysuckle and everything. So I'm pulling up my rangefinder and looking, and I still don't know. And then all of a sudden, he moved his head a certain way, and I saw that backside brow kicker, and I about lost my cool. I thought, oh my God, it's him. So I threw everything down, and I'm like ranging stuff, and he went by me on the driveway and then went back the way he came and then just broke right for me. And I had a couple other deer come by me a minute before or so, 30 seconds before, and I thought they had kept going. Well, they'd stayed there. So the buck comes, and as he starts to get where I'm going to be able to shoot, I draw my bow, and right as I come to full draw, he goes behind this like deadfall, and one of the little deer that had made it past me spooked and ran back by him, and he froze like a statue.
Oh, shit.
And I'm sitting there at full draw. I'm at full draw, weak side, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I literally needed one more step. That's all I needed. And I had no shot for the vitals. Well, as I'm holding, I'll have to look and see how long it was. It was fairly long, but it wasn't long for somebody doing a regular shot. But if you can appreciate a reverse plank on the weak side, where you're basically on your tiptoes and then holding your body up out against your saddle while at full draw, that's where I'm starting to fatigue.
That becomes a long time quick.
Oh, yes, it does. So I thought, I'll bet I could slip my top pin, my 20 pin. I could put it right up against the bottom of that deadfall and hope that I miss it and hit him real good. I think I could get in because it's going to come in a little higher. And so that's what I did. And I heard the unmistakable zip, but for the first time, I didn't get to see an arrow touch a deer. I didn't see impact, nothing. I just had to trust that that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And he ran about, I don't know, maybe 15 yards or so and stood there. And then I thought he was going to go down. He started getting wobbly and all that. And I thought, oh my God. And I started to freak out. And then he just walked off. And I thought, what the heck?
What the heck?
I wonder if I missed him or what. And so, and I thought, well, maybe, he went up over the driveway and disappeared. And I thought, well, maybe he just laid down over there. So I'm going to be careful. So I gave it a little bit. I got down, got my bow together and went and checked the arrow. Arrow didn't look too good. And I thought, that's not good, but that's not always a telltale sign of a good or a bad hit. Because normally you're going to get the result of whatever the last thing is you went through. So if your arrow rubs up against a bunch of fat or whatever, the cape, it can wipe everything off. And that's what happened with the big one I just showed you guys. So I had white fletchings and a white wrap on my arrow with that big deer, and there wasn't an ounce of blood on it. And I literally severed his brachial artery.
Oh my goodness.
So I start to find pinpricks of blood, and then immediately I can see 2 blood trails where he's leaking very well out of both sides. And, it's probably one I should send to sever and make them pay me for or something. Cause it's like probably a 75 to 100 yard blood trail in the snow where there's no question that deer is going to die.
Right.
And I thought I was going to find him laying, in the driveway, just across the driveway, something like that. I tracked him for about 600 yards that evening. I should have just backed out, but I didn't know if I had hit organs or artery. If I hit something where I need to push the deer and make it bleed, then I want to do that. Especially since you have snow and you can follow his tracks, let alone blood. So there's times where you can lose deer where you didn't take up the track. But that's generally like a front of the shoulder shot, something like that, where you got one long. So I found a bed with blood, found where I jumped him up and everything. And then I came to a spot where I was at a property line, and with everything going on for us now, I can't be caught on somebody's trail camera or, doing whatever, sneaking onto somebody's property and looking for deer without permission. You never know who's going to post what to Facebook and not care or understand. So I was like, well, looks like we have a long sleepless night ahead of us. And then, and I'm hoping I even get permission because I've never even met the people that own the property. So I go home, review everything a billion times in my head, and didn't sleep for nothing. And went back the next day, secured permission on 2 different properties. Got permission from the big piece of property, thinking I wouldn't get to touch that property at all. And literally the deer was on the property for 50 yards and went to another property. And I'm like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
So
he's making it difficult on you.
Ended up getting, oh, dude, it's like, can I just get one to stand broadside? Everybody talks about, oh, wait for him to turn broadside. And I'm like, you hunt big deer enough, and that's just not a thing.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's frustrating. So I went back the next morning, struggled and found blood and then lost blood and just combed the woods. Well, I had gone back home to get some rest and lunch and hydrate. And on my way, I called a drone service, just told him what happened and all that. And he's like, we'll find it, And I know the deer's dying. It's just a matter of finding the deer. They're good. And so I had just fallen asleep for a little while, and the landowner called me and he's like, Chris, what you doing? I'm like, well, I'm getting a little rest. I'm pretty pretty exhausted at the moment, emotionally drained, you name it. And I just ate a big meal, so I got the warm soup belly currently, so we're sleeping this one off. And he's like, "Well, we got your deer," and I'm like, "What?" And
What?
these aren't hunters, you know. Yeah, and he's like, "We got your deer," and I'm like mad because I think I'm being screwed with or something. I'm like, "Are you serious? You're not messing with me? Like, please don't. This isn't
Yeah.
funny. Like, please don't mess with
It's
me."
not funny
And
joke
he's like,
time.
"No, we got it. We went out to their dog had brought a shed antler to him earlier that week. It was actually a deer I had on camera. It was a stud, and they wanted to take their boys out to look for sheds, and so they went out on their UTV, and literally, I walked through this native field. It's like an old pasture, and I was just on the other side of a little finger of trees that kind of juts out into the field a little bit for, I don't know, 50 yards.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have just walked around there, it was laying dead right there in the wide open.
Uh,
But there was just no indication to go anywhere over there. And he had just died fairly recently. He wasn't stiff or anything.
oh, wow.
Still fairly warm. Yeah, it was very interesting. So I'm wondering if I had kind of been the final push to get him up and moving and get him killed. But when I recovered the deer and I dressed him, I'm a big nerd when it comes to anatomy and figuring out what happened. I had punctured the back lower portion of both lobes, and then went through the I'm trying to forget, we call it the grass bag, but I can't remember the rumen.
Yeah.
So I went through the rumen and the back of both lungs, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, double lung and he's dead." I tracked that deer 0.8 miles, 0.8. He didn't go 100 yards or 300
Right.
yards. He went 0.8 miles and then died. And
Yeah.
and it took him, almost a day or whatever it was, at least 12 to 18 hours. So, kind of a good lesson. And that was shot with a 2-inch Sever broadhead, mechanical and all that. And, the wound was there. Everything you'd want was there, just shot placement wasn't. But it was also one of those things where here's your entire season. And we had actually just went to secure the Ohio building for the Ohio 2025 Expo that day. And so me and the guys went, measured where we were going to have the archery shoot, signed some paperwork, paid our deposit, the whole nine. And then as we're sitting at lunch, which you can literally eat there, there's a restaurant inside the building. It's slick, hotels hooked up, everything.
Nice.
We're eating lunch, and I'm like, well, let's finish up. I'm gonna go kill this deer and just make this just the best day ever. And then I shot that freaking deer that day. So it's kind of neat. But
Yeah. And what a shot, man.
it was just
Shooting over the deadfall, you know what I'm saying? And not even have
yeah.
it, like you said, not having that good broadside shot. But sometimes you have to take that chance, because if you don't do it now, you may not
Yeah.
ever get that opportunity.
Well, that's the thing. I felt confident that I was going to kill the deer and everything. It's just, is it going to be quick? And I want to preface this. So if I would have hit where I was aiming, we would have piped him. It would have been probably top of the heart and literally the most perfect thing, and he dies on camera. Instead, when I reviewed the footage, I hit a twig like a foot in front of my bow. I don't know how that happened, but I hit a twig, either with the broadhead or the fletching, and it sent the arrow back a little bit. And so, I don't want people to think, "Oh man, you're aiming at the middle of the deer and you don't care." It wasn't that at all. It was, I hit a twig because I have nightmares about that. Like, man, if I don't hit that twig, I watch the deer fall. It doesn't turn into
Right
an
there.
Odyssey and all that. Odysseus is just trying to get home. So, but you are right. If there's plenty of shots, like that's why I'm such a proponent of like competition archery and practice and learning to do your own work, because if you build your own arrows and tune your own bow and learn all that, go through those processes, you become a better hunter and you're going to stack more deer in the freezer and on the wall. And I don't think, let's think about that. I have not had a single easy shot on any of the big deer that I've killed. There's been some kind of crazy circumstance. They come out of nowhere or they're quartered to. Most of them are quartered to. This guy was a little quartered to. He was pretty broadside, but there's a freaking log right there. Like if he just takes one step, he's
golden.
Toast.
Yeah.
17 yards. So it's one of those things where, you just keep learning and keep pushing through adversity, and then you look back and you're doing okay.
Yeah. So, man, that's a massive deer, dude. Do you know what he filled dressed out at? Like what his weight was? His body looks huge.
I'm trying to. Did I weigh? I don't think I weighed him. I only weighed one deer last year. I think I only killed 2 deer last year, which is the lowest since I killed my first deer.
No kidding.
But the other deer that I weighed that I killed was a piebald doe, and I had pictures of her for 3 years, so I knew she was at least 4 years old, and she had a fawn, but she was tiny. All those piebalds are like dwarfs. That buck I killed was the same. He was tiny, and so I had to weigh her. So when I dressed her, I weighed her, and she was 50 pounds gutted. And that's like the size of a fawn, and not even that impressive of a fawn here. So, I mean, probably same for you.
Yeah.
But this deer, he was pretty run ragged. I mean, we always do okay in our photos at making them look pretty good. But
yeah. Speaking of which, I'm going to need some tips.
I were to guess,
Speaking of which, I'm going to need some tips.
Yeah, don't gut them before you take your picture, and prop every single one of them up on their belly and make them look like they should look. What's interesting is my deer doesn't look big. It looks big compared to everybody else's because everyone else's deer is gutted and laying flat and looks like a fish.
Truth.
And so, you don't get to appreciate them. You don't get to show like a good, healthy looking deer or whatever. But this deer, if I were to guess, he was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 165 pounds dressed, which isn't crazy big. The big one that I killed, we estimated him around 250 live weight. Ooh. And I've killed multiple, somewhere around that size. But and that's not even like some of the deer you guys got out there in, that northern Missouri and Iowa and Kansas. Like those deer have to be big to survive the winters that you guys have. Our deer here,
there's some cows out
don't
here,
generally have. Yeah, they wouldn't survive the winter. Here it's pretty mild in southern Ohio for the most part.
Yeah. You guys seem to have, I see a lot of nice bucks killed out in Ohio, though, like on different pages and whatever. I'm like, you guys got some great deer out there for sure. What bow and stuff?
Pretty well. We're a $1 state.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. No, I was just going to say we're a $1 state with a gun season that doesn't come in the rut, and that's big. And what's crazy is our tags are still cheap for, it's over the counter and everything, and we still have giants every year, but it's because of that. You can't go out and mow them down with a rifle. So my bow setup is an Elite Era. It's set at 72 pounds. I got a 27.5-inch draw length. I think I have that set. I can't remember. It's the lowest percentage of let off that you can get with the bow, though, because I prefer less let off. Actually, helps me break better shots, but set my release off properly. And then I've switched this year on arrow setups. I'm rocking the Easton Axis 5.0s.
Yep. What broadheads are you using? Severs?
Sever. Yeah. So for elk season, I just did this build. I've got a 388 grain total weight. I've got 171 grains up front, which results in about 20% and some change of FOC, which is super high. And I run a 4 Fletch with a tack driver 2.0s. And let's see, I've got the brass insert and collars on the end, which makes up a part of the 171 grains up front, but really provides a good structural integrity.
Yep.
And so I'm going to take that elk hunting with the Sever 1.5 inch hybrid, and then I'll be hunting with the hybrid 2.0, the 2-inch broadhead from Sever.
Got you. I just switched my arrow setup to I'm shooting Victory Extreme Velocities, and I'm shooting the Easton brass insert with the collar on it. I've been shooting Grim Reaper whitetail specials and carnivores.
Those are good.
And I really like them. Some reason I've decided I want to try out fixed broadheads again, so I've switched to the Q80 Exodus, and I've heard nothing but good stuff about them.
That's a good broadhead.
So I'm going to try that out. I've watched a lot of good videos where they put that sucker through the ringer, so I was like, well, I'm going to give it a whirl and see what happens. Not that I ever had any issue with my Grim Reapers. I just got a wild hair and decided I was going to switch things up, so that's where I went with. But I'm shooting about 312 feet per second. I mean, it's fast little setup, and I'm excited to see what happens when I get on a deer this year for sure. But
you'll zip right through that thing.
Yeah, I think so. Have you ever shot them Exodus?
I haven't. I talked to John Lusk the other day over the phone for quite some time about some different broadheads and stuff, and the Exodus is one of his chosen fixed heads for sure, and it does fairly well. And I know quite a few people that have shot them that have great success. I'm not a big fan of the fixed just because they leave the little holes, but if you're looking for penetration, you will literally go right through that deer.
Yeah, that's my fear, is because I'm used to the big holes, and now I'm going. And sometimes you make a mistake. You know what I mean? Little front, little back, whatever. Well, sometimes them big holes will save you a little bit, you know. And so that's the only part I'm kind of nervous about. But we're gonna see what happens. And I shoot every day, man. I try to dial it in and make sure that where I aim, that arrow's going. You know what I mean? And so I just do a lot of practicing, and I'm excited to see what happens for sure, man. But hey, I had a message I was supposed to give you. I don't know if you can hear this.
Welcome to the
What is that?
Welcome to the Red Kingdom.
The Red Kingdom.
Chiefs Nation, baby. I thought for sure you'd get that as soon as I played it.
Well, here's the thing. You're a Chiefs fan and you know your fight song.
True.
I don't know your fight song.
Yeah, that's true. I thought it'd be kind of funny to put that on there since I know you're a big Bengals fan. And
oh, yeah.
I will say,
hopefully all of our guys will stay healthy.
I think I told you I put together this obsession bow, and I love black and orange, and so my bow, basically this bow, I picked the riser, the limbs, everything, the cams, and it's black and orange. And I ride motorcycles, so in my head I'm thinking, oh, Harley Davidson colors type deal, you know. And
sure.
So I was showing it to my buddy and whatever, and he's like, and he's a Chiefs fan, but he's like, man, how you like that Burrow bow? And I was like, Burrow bow? What are you talking about? He goes, that Cincinnati Bengals Joe Burrow bow you built, you know, the black and orange. And I was like, you son of a gun, man. Now I can't get that out of my head. Every time I look at it, I think Burrow bow.
I'm gonna start calling you Bo Row.
Oh no, we can't have that. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to some football season, though. You know what I mean? There's always good games between the Chiefs and the Bengals, so I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. I hope everybody stays healthy and we can have some good matchups, because those are generally some of the best watched football games of the year.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Well, we've been on here right at about an hour, Chris, and I don't want to take up, I know you're busy, man. I don't want to take up much more of your time, man, but I just want to say thank you very much for coming on and talking to me and telling me about this massive buck you put down here, you know.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and it was great to hear all about the Mobile Hunters Expo, and myself and Broadside Camo, we look forward to coming out there and hanging out with you and enjoying the show there in Ohio, man. And good luck to the show in Georgia as well. And I wish you nothing but the best success, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right. Well, everybody watching, thank you, man. I hope you enjoyed Christopher Leppert and his monster buck that he put down. And I hope we were a little bit entertaining and kept your attention, you know. But thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.